All right. So you said you had a question?
Yes, I have a question. Do you do this after you do the previewing?
Yes.
And the previewing, you can do it as whole group, or you can do it as
The
small
whole
group?
thing's going to be taught as a class first, and then once you get it as a class, then you start teaching them to do it as a group. So the group of 4, high, low, and medium, is going to be together. So the 4 of them are going to preview. They get 1 minute to independently preview everything. They have 1 minute to write it on their log independently. They're not going to show each other their writings, because then you'd have the lower kids not comfortable with sharing. But if the lower kids just do the best they can with writing, they can still verbally share it. So
Could they draw a picture, maybe?
they can draw a picture, right? They can do it. They're verbally comfortable talking. Okay, so they get 1 minute to preview it, 1 minute to write about it, and 1 minute to share it, and they're sharing together. Then you go into the click and clunk, and we're doing this as in one passage at a time. So they'll do it as a passage. So they'll each read independently. Okay, they're reading it either in their head or verbally to themselves. You can give them phones to read to themselves. Even in the first time, you may want them all reading out loud to make the lower ones feel more comfortable with it. Then they come back together on this passage, and they go, okay, so what did everybody understand? Well, one of them goes, well, I didn't understand what this was about, or I didn't understand what this word was. If nobody had any problems, they're clicking. But if there's a problem, then they're clunking. And that's where they stop and they start talking about the parts. And if one steps up and says, well, I didn't understand that, the other one goes, oh, I'm glad. I didn't understand it too. And now all of a sudden the lower ones aren't feeling as so, low. So then they get together and they're discussing it verbally out loud. And it happens where you misunderstand something the way you read it because you missed the period or a comma or you just missed something. So, okay, so you got your click and your clunk. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And if there's a student that can't read, that's low, can't read, then put a partner, somebody that will work with that student and they're comfortable with it. And they can read it together. So, okay, so we've got click and clunk. All right, so as an example, let me give you an example here. Okay, so Lucille Sullivan encourages her students to click and clunk throughout the day. She noted another reason I like this technique is that there is a transfer. The students will be reading in cafeteria and they say, hey, look at this clunk word, what does it mean? And that just thrills this teacher. Obviously it would me too. So, and click and clunk, they read. If they're clicking, they identify what makes sense. If they're clunking, then they identify what does not make sense or is hard to understand. And then they do a fix-up, and we'll talk about all that. And they use fix-up strategies. And that's what these 4 things are. These are your fix-ups. Reread the sentence. Reread the sentence before and after the clunk. Does it make sense? No? Look for a prefix, suffix, those context clues. Okay? Okay, get the gist. This is my favorite part of it. The TEKS, they ask literal, interpretive, evaluative, and universal questions of the text. This is 3-point figure 19C, 4-point figure 19C, 5-point figure 19C. Also, the other TEKS are to make inferences about text and use textual evidence to support understanding. 3-point figure 19D, 4-point figure 19D, and 5-point figure 19D. These things are straight across. So, and get the gist. Now this is still part of it. They're still in their group. They've done their preview. They've done their click and their clunk. And now they get to identify the most important idea, the main idea of that section. In a section of text. Usually it's a paragraph. Okay? The goal of getting the gist is to teach students to restate in their own words the most important point as a way of making sure they have understood what they have read, so the main idea of that paragraph. And we ask them to do that all the time, we're just not asking them to write it. Now they're going to have to verbally put it down, okay? And again, they're doing this as a group, okay? This strategy can improve students' understandings and memory of what they have learned. Do you see how this could work with STAR independently? Because we're asking them to do, they're asking them to do this stuff already. So students learn to get the gist by identifying the most important idea in a section of the text, usually in a paragraph. The students answer what is the most important, the person, place, or thing. They answer what is the most important idea about this person, place, or thing. They summarize it. And then they repeat steps 2 and 3, which each successive paragraph or section, whatever it is that the teacher is asking to read. Okay, stop for a minute.